Hello, thank you for joining us today. We're going to be talking about a really important topic about fraud that's perpetrated against veterans and their families. It's an incredible problem, and I'm delighted today that Andy Nazworth is with us. He's got the perfect background for this discussion. He spent 10 years, and I'm kind of looking at his bio here, 10 years active duty in the Army Infantry between 1985 and 1995. And among the highlights is he served in Berlin while the Berlin Wall was still up, and also in the 82nd Airborne from 1989 to 1994. And that included combat operations during the first Gulf War. So then he left the Army and went to work for the FBI as a special agent between 1997 and 2018. So he's got a really strong background in this area. And he retired in February of 2018 and now works for the YMCA in Black Mountain. So we're really glad that you're here, Andy, because you bring just a wealth of information. Just as a starter kind of our introduction of AARP's 38 million members, nearly 6 million of them are U.S. vets and active duty, which is really interesting. And in 2021, AARP Fraud Watch and Operation Protect Veterans did a survey, and they found out that veterans and their families were 40% more likely to be victimized by fraud and lose money. And nearly 80% of the vets and military adults are targeted directly related to their military service and their veterans. I was really surprised by those numbers. Andy, how much do veterans lose? What does this mean in terms of real dollars?
Well, as far as real dollars, the numbers have gone up. They've doubled in the last year, as you see, to total over $267 million. And per incident, our veterans are losing approximately $600, which is higher than our civilian counterparts.
Isn't that amazing? And COVID gets attributed for a lot of the increase in fraud right across the board. So what are some of the top scams that are victimizing veterans?
Well, there are several, and the top ones, Gretchen, are the lump sum for VA benefits, and we'll go deeper into that in a couple more slides, updating military records, and donating to veterans charities, which are actually scam charities. You see that top one, lump sum for benefits, 47%, almost half of those scams are attempting to get our veterans benefits.
Okay, are there other ones?
There are. You see again, the top is donating to veterans charities, 58%. That's a huge number. Lower home mortgage rates, and we'll go deeper into that in the next slide. And then free medical equipment.
Okay.
So the grandparent scam, if you're not familiar with that, it is a scam that has been going around for years. And what happens is you receive a call from someone who claims to be your grandchild. Many cases, they have the grandchild's name, which they get from social media. So you receive a call, Grandma, Grandpa, this is maybe Johnny, or just Grandma, I'm in trouble. Can you send me money? And they attempt to get you to wire them money or send them money via a cash app like Venmo. If you ever do get a call like this, hang up the phone. IT tech support. This is a big one. you may receive a phone call or email from someone claiming to be a technical support agent from a business. What they want you to do is to allow them to send you a link to take control of your computer to fix a so-called problem that you really don't have. Never allow this to happen, because if you download that link, they gain total access to your computer and all the data, including your banking information. So again, tech support scams, you're not going to get a call from your provider saying you have a problem. That's a red flag. IRS imposter scam. I actually received a call from a so-called IRS agent several years ago, telling me I owed back taxes, but instead of paying the back taxes, I could just pay a portion of that amount. Again, paid from a wire transfer. The IRS would never call you asking for money. You may get a letter if you get audited, but they never call you.
Also, a lot of these imposters want gift cards.
They do. They'll ask for gift cards. Mm-hmm. So again, if gift cards is what someone's asking for, do not do that. I was in Home Depot recently, and they actually had a sign up about a gift card scam where scammers are trying to get you to buy multiple Home Depot cards. So they're even aware of it.
Yeah. ARP is working with retailers trying to get more the stores to do more protective questions, but it takes a long time to get all that implemented. Whoops. Oh, your slides disappeared, Andy.
Oh, let's get that fixed here. Bear with us a moment.
Yeah.
There we go. So how scammers target veterans: phone calls, emails, and text. The first thing to know is the VA or the Social Security Administration will never call you and ask for personal information, identified information. The best thing to do if you receive an unknown call is just don't answer it. But know that the VA, Social Security, any other government agency won't just call or text asking for information.
And we know that on caller ID, fraudsters can change who they say they are. So they might well say Social Security. And our advice is just don't answer the phone. If it's an important call, they'll leave a message.
Sure. I actually received a text that looked like it was from my bank a few months ago. And I initially was concerned, but I called the bank and cleared that up. How scammers target veterans like myself: they request money or your Social Security number, again, through phone, email, or text. The best way to prevent that is don't answer those unknown phone numbers. But if you do, and someone on the other end is asking for that information, hang up. Hyperlinks is the big thing in text and emails. And what this does is if you click on that hyperlink, it will take you to a web page that looks official, got official logos from the VA in this case, and it will ask for your password to get on and maybe reset a password. And again, it gives the scammer access to your personal information. And then requiring payment up front in exchange for VA services. Again, the VA is not going to call and ask for money up front. Veterans never have to pay for the records. Records such as your DD-214, if you've lost that, you can get that through va.gov or the National Archives. I've Googled DD-214 in the past, and there are sites that come up that want to have you pay for those records. Don't do that. They're free to the VA.
Yeah, a lot of times when you Google something, the first few things that come up are ads and so forth. So really check to make sure that you're clicking on the right link. So how do you stay protected?
Benefit buyout scams. Well, number one, you stay protected by being alert, being observant, and you question any email or text or phone call you get. I mean, as far as a benefits buyout scam, you may be offered money up front, a lump sum, in exchange for your future benefits. It may be, in most cases, it's far less than your benefits would be. There are some options to legitimately do this, but you should always discuss that with a financial advisor. And never do any transactions through the phone or email with someone wanting to buy your VA benefits. Fake charities. These are big. They've been around for a long time. I've got a few here. I want to just list, find my notes here about some fake charities. So names like Healing Heroes, Veterans Fighting Breast Cancer, Military Families of America. They sound legitimate, like they want to help veterans. In actuality, they're scam charities. They're just trying to take our money for financial gain. And they'll often try to, tug at your heartstrings. They'll use terms, heroes, military, disability, trying to reach us and get that money.
So if they check out a charity on Charity Navigator or the Better Business Bureau, I found that's really interesting too, to look up a charity and find out how much the CEO earns, how much of their money goes into fundraising, and also how much money really goes for the cause that you're trying to support. And sometimes it's pretty surprising, and you might decide not to donate to that charity. So it's worth checking out.
Yeah, because again, fake charity doesn't necessarily mean it's a total scam. But like you said, Gretchen, you need to see how much money is going toward the veteran in this case, and not administration and CEOs. And in some cases, we've seen in the news having big company parties and just not giving that money back to veterans where it belongs.
Exactly. Also, the Better Business Bureau is another place that you can check out charities.
And charities often, these fake charities happen more around holidays and natural disasters. And in times of war, we've seen that, where donate to this charity to support your fellow veterans, and it's financial gain to scammers. Staying ahead of scammers. So number one, don't feel pressured to make an immediate decision. And that's what the scammer is going to try to do. They're going to call you. They're going to try to befriend you, establish a relationship on the phone, get you to make an immediate decision. You have to do this today or you won't get that benefit. Don't ever do that. You need to think things out, talk it out with other individuals. Don't commit to a decision right away on the phone. Do your research. Google is a great tool. It also mentions investor.gov, but do your research. And then, decide in advance today, what are you going to do if you get that phone call? You're going to say no. You're going to hang up. How far we let it go before you end that conversation. But just learn how to say no.
And tell them to take you off their call list.
Yes. Robocalls and solicitations. My phone goes off throughout the day with spam risk is the caller ID. But again, illegal robocalls, 58 billion. That's huge. The do not call registry helps, but your number continues to get out there. My cell phone gets multiple calls. And the best thing is just don't answer that phone.
Right, right. And of course the reputable businesses honor the do not call list, but the scammers go, oh well, so okay, yeah. So identity, losing your identity is really important. How do you protect yourself?
There's several things you can do. Number one, don't throw away junk mail because it does include your name and your address, which is part of what criminals need to get your identity. Shred everything. Shredders are cheap, so shred everything. I can tell you from my experience in the FBI, criminals go in dumpsters. They dumpster dive looking for sensitive information. They're not afraid to do that. They do it all the time. They'll also go in your trash on the street. So if you can wait and put your trash out later in case you miss something, wait until you put it out later because they will go through your trash on the street. Don't share personal information with anyone who calls you, texts you, or emails you. Legitimate businesses, the VA, the Social Security Administration, they're never going to ask for your personal information. They'll get that in person, never over the phone. Monitoring your bills and financial accounts. That's a biggie. I like to check my bank statements at least weekly. If not, I think my wife checks it every day. But scammers are good about getting your credit card number or your bank account number. They'll make a charge on your credit card for as little as 1 cent. And they do that to see if, number one, that card number is legitimate and still active. If it is, the next month or even less than that, they will go on and they'll make multiple charges across the country at many times. It's, I won't say a gang, but a group of individuals, they'll make multiple charges within an hour and they can drain your account. So monitor your financial accounts. You can also set up alerts. My account, if anything's charged over $200, I get an alert. I get a text message and an email. So I know if possibly I can stop something in advance. Credit checks are also good to do a couple of times a year. Passwords. I know passwords to me are, how do you keep up with all of them? There's so many websites and apps you have to keep up with, but it's important to use unique passwords. Sometimes we have a tendency, I point at myself, use a password that includes your birth year, birth month, your favorite pet. A couple of reasons not to do that. You may have seen these Facebook sites or Facebook pages where someone will post, what's your favorite pet? What's your favorite sport? These can be used if you use that as password identifiers to try to break into your accounts. So it's really good to use unique passwords. Most sites these days gives you the option to use a pre-selected password that's several characters long. That's great to do that. You can actually save it in your cell phone or computer. If not, I would just encourage you to choose a very unique password with uppercase, lowercase letters, numeric numbers, symbols. Also, two-factor authentication. If you're not familiar with that, great. It's a great tool. I have it. So when I go into my bank account, I cannot get in immediately. I get a text on my cell phone with, I guess it's a 4-digit number, right. And I've got to enter that to access my account. That's another great security feature to keep someone outside, a scammer, to get into your accounts. And then the antivirus software and using public Wi-Fi, you've got to be careful about doing that.
Right, right. The other thing I was going to mention, Andy, and I'm sure you know about this from working at the FBI, is there's the thing called the dark web. And a lot of our information is sold on the dark web. Like you can the fraudsters can buy your social security number for 35 cents. If it's got more information about you, it might cost a couple of dollars, but it's incredible what all goes on the dark web of selling your information, as well as human trafficking, drugs, guns, and all of that sort of thing. So unfortunately, there's really no privacy anymore, so we have to protect ourselves. And we don't want to scare people, but we're trying to arm you with the tools to protect yourself. I wanted to talk about some free resources that will help people fight fraud. And so the next slide it's coming up. Okay. We now have a brand new edition of the handbook, especially for veterans, and it's just excellent. It includes obviously all the fraud things that we've talked about today and the tips to protect yourself, but it also includes some top general consumer schemes that we're all facing, the more generic schemes, and some of which Andy's already mentioned, like the false IRS or the grandparent thing and so forth. And so that's in there, and also some additional resources for veterans to be aware of, like community resources, the Federal Trade Commission, very important, the U.S. Postal Inspector, also. So there's a lot of other additional resources that we're not covering today. And they also tell how scammers work. What's the psychology they use? And we call that putting people in the ether. You know, when you have a surgery, you're not making decisions well. So the scammers try to put you in the ether. Either they try to get you all excited about something wonderful, like winning a sweepstakes. Well, did you even enter a sweepstakes? So, you know, that's another thing. Or they do something to create fear, like Friday afternoon, 3:00, and supposedly one of your utilities calls and says, we're turning off your power or your gas, whatever, at 5:00, unless you pay your bill, which is 2 months in arrear. You can pay that with a gift card. So quick, go get a gift card and so forth. So they give all sorts of information like that that's really important in that booklet. And you can download it at arp.org. That's Fraud Center. And it's just excellent. We also have an online peer support group. If people are really traumatized by fraud, and so people that are really having an emotional struggle with this can get peer support help for emotional recovery. So that's another resource that we have at ARP. And I would just suggest you go into arp.org and look at fraud. You can get all sorts of general information. You know, Andy, this morning from the Federal Trade Commission, I got an email, because I get their emails all the time. And a new one they talked about is that the fraudsters are mimicking like USAA Bank or the Navy Federal Credit Union, and saying there's a problem with your account, so that you need to get in touch, and they want, of course, your credit card, your debit card, your social security number or password. So that's brand new off the press this morning. Like, oh, good, another thing to watch for.
Well, when I mentioned,
go ahead.
When I mentioned that I received a text from my bank a few months ago, it was actually, the phone number was actually my bank's phone number. So you mentioned before, scammers can spoof a telephone number and make it look like a from the VA or the Social Security Administration, but it looked like it was from my bank. And that does get you concerned, and it wants to say, did you charge this amount? And if you click no, that's when they're going to go further and want to get your password for your account. So that is something that initially makes you go, oh, it's real. Something you can also do is you can hover over, you can put your mouse cursor over the link to the website address, and often it will tell you if it's been spoofed, like maybe .ru for a Russian site. We saw that in the FBI a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and those sorts of things. Look for grammatical errors, spelling errors. I got an email that said, "Hello, dear." I mean, no business is going to start out. And they wanted money for somebody that had cancer and so forth. So, all those sorts of things are really good to study the email carefully when they're asking for money. Are they legitimate? Well, as we wind up today, you've just given us so much valuable information, Andy. It's very appreciative. Are there any parting words that you want to share?
There are a few. Look at some notes here. Number one, safeguard your Social Security number. Safeguard that DD-214, because that has your social, your name, all that information. Protect all your personal information. Shred everything. Monitor your bills. I mentioned passwords. Don't use the same password for all your sites, which I've been guilty of that. But what that puts you in jeopardy if and when it's going to happen, your password is compromised. If you've used the same one across multiple platforms, then you're in more trouble. So use individual passwords for different sites. I failed to mention before, one of the ways that scammers identify veterans is through the internet searches and social media. So don't be surprised that they know you're a veteran. They know where you served. And again, I'm your 82nd buddy, but really they're not. But that's how they try to get to you and pull those heartstrings. And I need money. You're my Army buddy. Send me money. So again, protect all that information. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. So don't let yourself fall for a potential scam.
That's right. And I guess a couple mantras out of the day is shred, shred, shred. You talked about that, and the dumpster diving. It's just amazing the efforts that people go to perpetrate fraud. And then share the information, because we're talking today, but hopefully you've learned a few things that you can share with other folks, and that would be great. So, and whenever, if unfortunately you suspect fraud or have experienced fraud, you can report. Very few people report fraud because they're embarrassed or, so it's incredibly helpful to report it. You can do that with the AARP Fraud Watch Network, and also the Federal Trade Commission or your Attorney General's office. So there's a lot of ways to report, and they all share information with each other. So I guess we're going to wind up, Andy. So thank you so very much. I so appreciate your willingness to come on and share your information, expertise, and experiences, because you've had a wealth of experience. So we'll sign off for now, and maybe we'll be back another time. So for now, goodbye. Goodbye, Andy.